Hello, hello. I can't tell if this thing is working. Something is definitely messing up on this computer. I hopefully you guys can see me. It says I'm live, but none of the video played or anything else. So let me know if you can see and hear me. And what a way to start the stream. Welcome, guys, to another Saturday night live stream. Of course, today we are diving into X-Men from Arcade1up. And so if you did not get a look at or check any of this out on my community posts or anywhere else I've been commenting, I was able to pick up an X-Men Arcade1up new but unworking for $100 off of Facebook Marketplace. So immediately I went and tried to get this thing to work. I connected it up. And of course, just like the seller said, it didn't work. It didn't power on, doesn't do anything. Tried various things, of course, went through the typical troubleshooting steps. So whenever you have a Arcade1up that doesn't power on, you go through all the steps. First, you unplug everything. You try, then you plug them back in, see if that fires it up. If that doesn't work, you try different cords, right? Different power cords. You try taking that little extension cable, this one, you try taking that out and plugging the power cord directly into the unit. If that still doesn't work, you do things like holding it for 3 seconds. Well, I went through all of that nonsense, still didn't work. So then I tried the second step, which is going to your PCB and start unplugging all the connections on the PCB and then plugging them back in and go through the whole rigmarole all again. And of course, none of that worked. So I filed an RMA with Arcade1up, and within a few days, they sent me a new PCB. So what we're going to do today is we're going to install this new PCB and see if it brings this cab back from the dead. And of course, you can see there it says X-Men 01. So that's our revision 1088 version 01. Before we jump into that, I just want to give a moment to say hello to everybody that stops by. And I noticed right away, my Cockhurts joined as a James Hates Everything member, and I really appreciate that. All the memberships do help the channel, so I appreciate all of that. And thanks for dropping by. We got Calvin Wong. And the Cornercade is in the house. Ted Adam Green, moderator extraordinaire Jason Lil Alien. We have Gramps Arcade. Always nice to see you as well as everybody else. And Goofy Foot is in the house. And he said, old men hate everything. And Mike Hockhurt says, you look like you are in 8K crystal clear. Well, that's great to hear. Stock Jock says, I can see you. We see you so well that you need to trim your nose hairs. Indeed, indeed, indeed. We have Chris North by Northwest. He says, I can't see or hear you. So that is good. I appreciate that. Thor KC is in the house. And I think that has us all caught up. So great to see everybody. Calvin Wong says, once you fix it, you have to play PD7 and X-Men online streaming. And that's exactly right. We will do just that. In fact, I just came from a mad session of Shredder's Revenge with PD7 and all his crew. They're still hard at it. But I had to be here with you all and to fix this Arcade1up. So hope everybody's having a good day. A lot of discounts today, I hear. So we have Costco going ham, clearancing out those Midway Golden Tea cabs. So check your local stores. I've seen as low as $135 on those. So If you're in the mood for a very weird looking mashup cab, just want a multicade with 30 games and bad controls, that game is for you. Some people love it, and at $135, you can mod that into all kinds of stuff. So look for that. I think we've seen anywhere from 200 to 135 based on whether it's open box or new. So look for your local areas. They're probably going to be gone by the time the weekend is over. I know they're getting harder and harder to find. Also noticed Walmart also seems to be having a blowout sale. So if you're in the lookout for a riser or a peasant cade, they have them on sale. Peasant cades are $225 right now, and I've seen risers are going for $25. So there you go. I don't know if that means Walmart is just kind of removing Q4 overstock and just trying to thin out their warehouse and shelves. They did get a lot of those. Certainly saw Arcade1up was shipping a ton over the holidays. So they probably didn't sell. And so Walmart needs to get rid of all that overstock. So I don't know how cheap $225 is. What is that? It's either $25 off or $75 off. I can't remember if those are $300 or $250, but that's a decent deal. And $25 for a riser is pretty darn cheap, even though it's just the solid black one. There's nothing to it, but if you're using it just to reskin or you just want a cheap riser, that's a good option. So look for those deals. We'll see what this means for Arcade1up. Pretty interesting. I mean, obviously, we all expected the Costco to blow things out after the holidays. Makes sense that Walmart might be doing the same things just to get stock lower. But could it actually mean that Arcade1up is going to no longer be at Walmart? That will be interesting. I'll be, be interested to see. So we'll have to check those out in a few weeks, see if they still stock them in stores or if this is the last hurrah. And I know they've been slowly dwindling the amount of stores you can find them in. And I think Walmart getting rid of them would be the probably the end. I imagine they rely heavily on those Walmart sales. Chris Ford, thanks for dropping by. And Stockjock says, I got a Dig Dug riser. Anybody want one? Just pay shipping. Well, there you go. Sounds like Stockjock just got an inline riser for his Dig Dug. He's going all out. And Steve Sale is in the house. Nice to see you, sir. And Chris Ford says, if $200 at Costco, good for price. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to turn down any cab at $200 or less. Certainly not an XL. Like I said, you could mod that thing because it's can be used for all sorts of stuff and put a new control panel on so you don't have all those weird controls. Definitely something pretty cool and interesting at that price. So I might go check out a couple Costco's in the area. I heard the one up north of here has some still in stock. So I will check that out tomorrow. So let's just dive right in. Let's get into this. And so first up, I'm just going to flip this over. And I've got my towel down, as you can see, so I don't scratch the front of this screen. I have not put the cab together fully, so it makes it easier. I don't have to disassemble it. Oh, let's actually turn that the right way. Hopefully that sounds not too annoying with this mic. All right. One PCB case freed. Now, the next thing you want to do, and this is a safety tip, is you want to take a picture of your PCB, which I'm just going to do now, as you can see. And the purpose of this is when you put the new one in, you want to make sure you line up all the cords exactly the same, all that, because if you get the monitor or the power backwards, yeah, you've just destroyed that. So, so definitely recommend you do that just to be safe. So we're just going to unplug all of this. And some of these are easier to get out, or much harder to get out than they would seem. And especially when you have big fingers such as myself, you really don't want to be pulling on the wires themselves, but sometimes you can't get a grip any other way. You really don't want to. Come on. There we go. So there's our removed PCB. And you can see it's the same revision, 1088 version 01. So must not have had any other versions of these. And we will just yank this one out, remove the PCB out of here. Dagnabbit. Yes, definitely use the impact driver. Get it all the way in there. Come on. All righty. Just got to pry that USB port out of the hole. And there's our old PCB, not to be confused with the new one. And seems like I've already lost a screw. There were 4 screws in there, but somehow, oh, it's still in the board. All right. Bobby Broadway drilling into that sumbitch like RoboCop. Yep. Definitely. And yeah, just make sure I didn't put the drill down where I can't see you guys. Let's see here. Line that all up. And just click it into place with where the SD card slot goes. And our on-off switch is accessible now. And let's just put this thing back. All right, we might do this with the, God damn it. This is definitely going to be easier with manual at this point. Come on. So I take it those of you that are here are probably not huge pay-per-view wrestling fans, or you might be out there watching the Rumble right now. So appreciate you hanging out, or maybe you're watching it at the same time. And if you are, you know, don't spoil it for anybody, I guess. Unless you already read the script. While I'm doing this, let's see, Corncade says, now this time I said it's Saturday night. There you go. Oh, it ended about 45 seconds before your stream started. Well, that was all how I planned it, of course. So I don't know if you guys know. Hey, Marine50, thanks for dropping by. I did start a new gameplay channel, so it's just JHE_plays. Right now, there's only one video out there, but that's, you know, when you do a lot of reviews and a lot of gameplay, you end up recording a lot of footage that you then edit down for another video. And I figured, hey, why not just take all this gameplay footage that I'm recording for these things anyway, and just put the unedited full gameplay out there so that if anybody's interested in watching that, they can. And, you know, if not, not. But there you go. All right, so now let's put these pieces back on. All right, first up, and then next this one goes this way. Now a lot of these should only go in one direction, but always double check just in case. And so this one, your red wire is going to go to the left, allegedly. If I can get that in there. These little pins, you want to be super careful not to blow anything up. And then now we're going to go up to the LVDS. And that one again, the power, or the red cable, it's not power. The red wire is going to go all the way to the right. So it should be pointing towards the Wi-Fi connector, Wi-Fi antenna connector, I should say. And again, these little ass pins, you got to make sure you get it right on, straight up and down. Don't mess around because you risk bending some pins. And you don't want to force it. Just making sure it's all good there. And we are in. Looks good on that side. And then we're just going to connect our power. And this is the one you want to be super duper careful with. Again, it should really only go in one way, but you want to make sure you get it right. And in this case, the red wire is going to the left. You screw this one up, you fry your PCB and or your monitor, so be super careful. All right, and for the sake of, I'm just going to assume this is going to work. I'm going to go ahead and connect the Wi-Fi. Okay, Wi-Fi is on. I am not, however, going to tighten down the back of the PCB. And where's my power cord? I'm going to connect power in a minute. first we got to have our control panel. All right, control panel's now plugged in. We're almost at the moment of truth, but in order to see the moment of truth, we need to see the monitor. So definitely do not have enough hands. Alrighty. Here's goes nothing. Dag nabbit. Nothing. Well, that is very, very frustrating. Oh. Well, there's only one left thing. Well, I know it's plugged in with power because all this stuff is plugged into the same surge protector. So I know the power is plugged in. It's good. I tested that before I went on. I tested different power cords. I know this power cord works. So new PCB did not fix the problem. So I guess that means we're left with the encoder board on this damn controller. It's my guess. That sucks. That super duper 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 sucks. Let's see if this is getting any power at all. Yep, nothing there. Well, shite. 1 year connections inside the bracket, probably off inside the wire connection of the bracket. Throw a Viper on it. It would not let me join the stream. I was pissed. So I don't know what that is. So lady is now watching and she's laughing. Yeah, probably. Let's see. Yep. So the next step will have to be the encoder board. Unfortunately, Arcade1up would not send it to me until I tested the PCB. So there you go. Well, that sucks. So back to step one. Oh, I forgot to plug this thing in. Well, that blows. So no fixie tonight. So I'll definitely, yeah, I just got to jiggle the handle. You know, definitely going to have to then, of course, now go back to Arcade1up and say, send me the damn controller. And I just threw screws everywhere. Oh, like a dillweed. That is frustrating. Yeah, that sucks. You know, because they make you buy these stupid encoder boards, but I guess I have an extra likely functioning encoder board. Let's see. Cornercade should have modded the Blitz with the arcade ROM. That's what I did. I'd never get rid of it. Blitz. So Big B, you can actually, if you do the Blitzmas on your Blitz, they've added some late hits back in, and you can still play online with other Blitz players. And of course, they did add the other ROMs as well, so you can play those other ones at the same time. So pretty cool hack from Mystery Encoder. Yeah, Jason, it is a bummer. You know, what do you want? It's that's the risk you take when you buy known broken stuff, right? Is that it might not work. And so you just go step by step, troubleshoot the thing. My guess is the seller did the same thing, and that's why he gave up. He claimed to not know what he was doing, which I knew was going to be fishy to begin with. So we've replaced the PCB. Next is the encoder board. It's got to be one of those two, right? That's the only thing that makes this thing work. You got the power cords, which I've tried different power cords. You got the PCB and the encoder board. There ain't nothing else. So, I guess the monitor itself could be jacked up. But if that were true, I think we'd see I'd be able to turn the lights on the control panel. But so next step, get a new encoder board. Half split method. I do not know what you're talking about there, Carl O. Sony 4K, thanks for dropping by. He says, I would check with Buy Stuff Arcades. They may be able to help. Indeed. So like I said, the last step I'll do is trying the new encoder board on the control deck. Obviously, this control deck, since it's a 4-player, has a little more to it. If that doesn't work, then it may be related to the monitor. And one of the things I was going to do anyway was get a 19-inch monitor from Buy Stuff Arcade for this. I'm not convinced I'm going to keep this in the cabinet it came in. It's supposed to be in. I think those Konami cabs are a little small from Arcade1up. So I was planning on having a special one made that is more XL size and doing that all custom. But I got to get the thing working first, right? So before I can do any of that. But alas, it is not meant to be tonight. And that's why I like to do these things live, because I guarantee you there are people out there that are going through these same problems, and to see the mistakes and things that can happen as you go through them, and to have somebody to walk through and show you that is always helpful. I know it's helpful for me, so hopefully somebody in the future will see this and get some help from it. Ideally, the PCB swap works for them, but it did not work for me. Cornercade says XL is the future, and most people are going to tell you, where you been, Cornercade? We've been saying XL's is the future for like 3 years. And you were telling us no, and now you're Mr. XL. So there you go. Do not need to stream and get to show you guys the XL way. So I think that's really kind of my plan for tonight, was thinking this was going to work, and it did not. So what are you guys looking forward to? Obviously, Arcade1up has been very quiet. And I know Mike B was talking, did a stream or a video earlier today questioning Arcade1up and the lack of information. And he mentioned DMAC, right? DMAC had mentioned to P-Dubs, like sometime in maybe July-ish timeframe, maybe August, that Arcade1up was going back to CES, that they were going to have a CES announcement, and then they didn't. And I've been thinking about that, because if they had something to announce, they would have announced it, right? Whether they went or not, but they didn't. But we also know right before the end of the year, they kind of pushed that claw machine out. And they didn't have a whole lot of stock of the claw machine. In fact, they just now have begun shipping again. Of course, you've seen the advertisements. They continue to take pre-orders through all of December, trying to get people to buy it. And I cannot help but wonder if the claw machine was supposed to be announced at CES and they moved it forward to try to save 2024 as much as possible. And that's why they don't have anything to announce. I think they were going to debut the claw machine as their big CES announcement. They got it out early to make some sales, to make some pre-orders, to get some cash flowing in. Because we know they basically only got like 750 in one shipment, and I think 750 in a second one, and then they were gone for at least two to 3 months. So I wonder if that didn't occur that way. Now, I could be totally wrong, just kind of thinking about it. Why wouldn't they announce anything at all at CES? Why wouldn't you, if you're Arcade1up and your former employees are making a big announcement at CES for their new cab, and they're now becoming a direct competitor to you, why wouldn't you just wait like a couple days or to the next day and then drop your announcement over the top to kill the momentum of them, right? These are people that you let go. They've gone off, started their own thing. They're working with your former partners, ThinkUp. They're working with your former manufacturer, and allegedly, and now they're releasing XLs and people are going crazy for. Why wouldn't you try to take the wind out of their sails and make some big announcement to get everybody hyped? Unless, of course, they just didn't have anything they knew that people would be excited about. I think it's either one of those two, that whatever they had to announce was not all that exciting, especially in comparison to what Iconic Arcade is doing, or it was the claw machine, and because of the leak of the cabinet, whether intentional or unintentional, and poor sales, they needed to get it out. I don't know, I'm just guessing, but I think it's probably one of those two things. Prince Vinny, thanks for dropping by. Dr. Torque says, Igor, what brain did you put into Arcade1up? None at all. So we just talked about ThinkUp. So this is something I've been meaning to update you guys on for a couple months and just hadn't had the opportunity, or I spaced it off is really the reason. There's not a whole lot to show to you, so there wasn't enough content to like make a video or do a whole stream about it. But we have an update on the ThinkUp versus Disruptive Products Inc. /Tastemakers LLC. And that's a lawsuit I've been following, been waiting to see what was going to happen. Are we going to make it to discovery? Are we going to find out more inside information in Arcade1up? And unfortunately, the answer is no, we are not, because ThinkUp has voluntarily dropped their lawsuit. What does that mean? Don't know. We know ThinkUp is busy with their new company, Wonderland Amusements. They're working on that new table, pinball machine, a 80% scale physical pinball machine. We've just got, as you guys know, the latest prototype gameplay footage a week and a half ago or so. So it's pretty exciting watching them come along, watching them grow. It's clear at the pace they're moving, they are fully committed and going 110% towards making that become a reality with the idea of having that Kickstarter very, very soon. Of course, the Kickstarter page is already up, and you can go click notify on that page so that when it does go live, you get all the information. But with their focus on that, is that why they dropped the case? Did they say, we're too focused on this machine? We think this machine is going to be a success. Of course, you guys know Wonderland Amusements isn't just Think Up and Jerry Cummings. It's also key people from Arcade1up. It's someone from New Wave Toys, and it's one of the original manufacturers of Arcade1up, all coming together to make this new company and to make this product happen. So there's a lot of former competitors and or partners coming together to make this company. So I want to see it succeed. Hopefully what they deliver is great. And so we're watching that interesting. And maybe they just don't want to spend the brain power on worrying about fighting the Arcade1up lawsuit. The other possibility is they reached some sort of settlement behind the scenes that they didn't need to be in the case. They reached a settlement on their own. And then part of that settlement was, pulling the lawsuit down. And if that's the case and it wasn't done through their attorneys and made like a legal settlement within the lawsuit, we would not know that. You would just see it voluntarily dismissed just like that. So it's highly possible there was some sort of settlement agreement reached. And maybe Arcade1up paid up. Who knows? But we'll never know because nobody will ever tell us. So, alas, the lawsuit is over. But I'll keep watching to see if anything gets refiled. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. It's been that was the settlement or the voluntary dismissal occurred in November. So you can see I've been telling you guys because it either slips my mind or when I do think about it, I end up getting distracted by something else. So it has been nearly 3 months at this point since that lawsuit was dismissed, and I have yet to see anything new filed. So case dismissed, as they say. Let's see. Yes, attorneys do cost lots of money, Calvin, and that has definitely got to be a consideration. It could also be a reason why you drop a lawsuit if it continues to cost you money and it's not going anywhere. But based on the filings, there wasn't much happening on the case anyway. It's in that period where they had Arcade1up, Tastemakers and Disruptive had to be served, which they were, and then they were waiting for their response, and they had until a certain day to respond. They did respond, but they obviously waited till the last possible second, and that at the same time is when the very next day almost, the case was a motion for voluntary dismissal was placed. So it kind of went away pretty quickly. So our one source for inside information as to how successful Arcade1up is doing has left the building. Pennies from heaven. And Fourth Horseman says, surely they fire that link of a leader they currently have. Yeah, their combination CFO and CEO, Dora DeVere. Clearly she is, she's, from what we understand, she's kind of been the CFO, the bean counters, right, have been the ones really stopping the people in Arcade1up that are big arcade fans and instead, pushing for that mass market appeal. We heard DMAC mention on one of the streams over CES that, Arcade1up became focused on chasing that high of, COVID era mainstream product, fourth largest video game hardware manufacturer in the country. I would love to know how those numbers work, but they have been going out of their way to try to be mainstream. That's why they focus on TikTok. That's why they focus on the Infinity game table, because they think it gives, mom influencers and some of these people like, interesting footage. If you watch any of their reels on Instagram or TikTok, they appear to be paying or at least providing a lot of free product to some influencers, because you're getting these really hokey videos from people where they're like, they have these 30-second or 1-minute videos where they're like, oh, how great this is or that is. And then you watch and they don't even really know what they're doing or how to play it. So they have this weird fake influencer stuff they're doing with all these, lack of a better word, mom influencers, right? These, just not arcade people. It doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense, and so you always hear these people, oh, I just got this and it's so great, and everybody loves it. It's like so fake. Nobody believes it for a second. I don't know why they think this shit works. They're lost. They're just completely lost. And, they could change it tomorrow if they wanted by just making a simple announcement, but they are too busy with their hokey shit, like that video with the Gen Z lady and the Gen Z dude who can't figure out how to play Mortal Kombat, and what was the other cab they had sitting there? I can't remember, where they don't even know how to use the controls. She's playing Mortal Kombat like it's a dual stick shooter, like Robotron. Like, it was so stupid. But that is Arcade1up these days, right? Infinity game tables and people who have no idea what arcades are. Just absolutely nuts. But what can you do? Let's see. Bobby Broadway says Infinity should be given to every hospital, so news stories came out about. Yeah, I mean, that would be a definitely a good publicity for them. But maybe the game boards could do that. And there is Phil. Hey, thanks for dropping by, PD7. It was a blast playing earlier. Unfortunately, my X-Men is still dead. We did the PCB swap with a brand new PCB. It did not fix it. So now I need an encoder board to try that out. Yep. Just like TikTok Candy is not cashing in on the TikTok craze. What the hell? Yeah. They're lost, man. Anybody in there that knew how to market is gone. Anybody that knew anything about arcade games is gone. The company that designed the original Arcade1ups, even designed the Infinity game table, is gone. Like, they have not, they did the claw machine. I was going to say, they didn't come out with an actual new product at all since all those people left. That's not true. They came out with the claw machine, which I like. But let's face it, it's for kids. It's not, it's something, it's decoration, functional furniture, they say, with minor function here. Kids love it. Kids play it all the time. Other than that, it's just for ambiance in the arcade, right? But man, how freaking embarrassing is this thing? Like, Arcade1up is gone. But thankfully, we have Iconic Arcade. Hopefully we see something towards the end of this year from Unico. Hope maybe we'll see something from Basic Fun if that ever comes out. We got, of course, Glenn's stuff coming out, hopefully for pre-order by the end of this month, because we're in February now. Let's see, what else do we got coming? Allegedly, the ALU, or sorry, it's not called that anymore. After our stream last week where we talked about what a piece of useless furniture that is, trying to be nice. Not a lot of need for 4K retro arcade game multicades, but after we talked about that, suddenly now there's a special link on their main page called the @Games 4K Arcade. So apparently we got a new name, 4K Arcade instead of the ALU 4K. And maybe with a new name comes an entirely new product. Maybe this thing has been redesigned. I certainly hope so, because lordy, I don't understand the use cases we've talked about last week, and it's damn ugly. So you never know. Yeah. Chris says it was like watching my pugs play arcades, just hitting random buttons with a stupid look on their mugs. That's exactly right. And they were like, "Oh, these are so great. Oh, we love 90s this and 90s that." Like they didn't even know what they were. I don't even know if they'd recognize the names on with the titles on those things. So absolutely ridiculous. Um, Mike Hawkhurt says, speaking of lawsuits, the Janelle Grant lawsuit versus Vince McMahon WWE has just amended to include Michael P.S. Hayes, who is still working for WWE as a backstage producer as recently as tonight's event. Yeah, there you go. I would imagine there's tons of people still employed with the WWE after that, after Vince left that were involved, had knowledge, did God knows what. Assume it'll all come out over time. Let's see. Infinity Game Table could run touched light gun games, I bet. It could do a lot of stuff if they really had support. It's $1,000 damn table. That is way too expensive. If they got that price down to like lost money on it, right? Could they sell it for 300, break even? Maybe $399, get it to a reasonable price point and make money on the software. It's allegedly an open platform. You should be able to develop all kinds of games for it. There are a handful of random people writing new games for it, but any big new game that does come out for it is coming from Arcade1up. And with a platform like that, you really need that third-party support to make it worthwhile. And at $1,000, man, you could buy 1 million board games for $1,000 almost. Not really 1 million, but you get my drift. Far more than 50. And after seeing a lot of the games on it that are just weird clones of Memory or other cheap garbage games, because quite honestly, the people developing for it aren't exactly your top tier developers because they can make far more money developing for other systems. When is Arcade1up online going down? Well, my understanding is their online play is peer-to-peer, so allegedly it's future-proof. So if Arcade1up goes out of business, it should still stay online. Now, I don't know how that happens because I would think you still have to have some sort of central server to at least share who all the peer-to-peer people are. So who knows? But I hear the Street Fighter lobbies are still fairly busy, even though everything else is mostly dead. It says, Prince Finney says, you see, I always knew they know how to play these games. Yeah. So how about this Mets? How about the Mets? Maybe that's a typo. I don't know what you're saying there, Chris. The AtGames 4K arcade link has been removed. I did not know that. Thanks for pointing that out, Jackson and Jason. Very interesting because it just appeared the day after and then was gone again. So maybe they had their own little arcade website leak of their own. Or maybe it was just a mistake and the product is indeed completely dead. Who knows? Or at least shelved indefinitely. Very interesting to see that 4K arcade link show up and then disappear. Maybe they're getting ready to make a big announcement on it, and it was just a little early, and they're working on it and pushed out a change that wasn't quite ready for prime time. Like I said, I certainly hope we get to see something new. I think that would be really cool if they redesign it from the ground up and give us something good. I, for one, wouldn't mind a really good size multicade for light gun games that is fairly affordable that maybe could be used for other things. But and I mean, when I say light gun games, I mean more modern, like Techno Parrot light gun games that are widescreen. Certainly the multicade for me is going to be Glenn's. I'm excited for that one. It can be made to look like a Nintendo cab, and it's in the right aspect ratio with the 4x3 screen, which is what they should be. Perfect for all the retro arcade games. But if At Games is going to do another widescreen, they need to make it give us a compelling reason, make it play more modern arcade games, get some licenses from more modern stuff, and let's see what happens. And Chris says, yes, it was a typo. Do you really understand the angle of growing Killer Instinct after the debacle Arcade1up had? What's so soon? Yeah, I don't know why they think it's smart to go after Killer Instinct on the arcade when, like you said, there's the market's flooded with Killer Instincts because of Arcade1up. It took, what, 3 years, 2 years to sell through the 500 Killer Instinct Pros, which were going to be, right at or a little less than the At Games price. I don't understand why they want to push so hard for Killer Instinct, but hey, to each their own. To me, I know a lot of people love Killer Instinct. It's a good fighter, but it's not an A-list fighter. It's probably B. If it, why wouldn't you go for Tekken? Why wouldn't you go for something, like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or Tekken? Those are your A-list, right? Killer Instinct, it's fine. It's an adequate fighting game. Yeah, Soul Calibur, you got Tekken, Soul Calibur, you've got Virtua Fighter. They had or have still a relationship with Sega. Why wouldn't they do like Virtua Fighter or something? I know obviously Virtua Fighter isn't really A-list either, but at least it's not something that's already been flooded into the market. I understand for the pinball, maybe, why you would want to bring those titles to pinball, because they're new tables, new interesting things that could be a lot of fun. Certainly Battletoads and some of the sound effects and things like that from Killer Instinct with the combos and all that stuff will be really cool as a pinball table. But to push the games again, who really cares? Like, whatever. You can go pick up a used Killer Instinct for $100 that actually works. Any news on the pinball skins? Not that I am aware of. I think what we've seen is what we've got for now. I think if I don't remember exactly, but I thought they said it would be some time before we heard about another skin. But maybe when the Star Wars stuff starts dropping this month, they surprise us all with a Star Wars skin. Wouldn't that be cool? Israel Gaiman, thanks for dropping by. Johnny Blaze is dropping by. Say, KI has and always be the most overrated fighter. I don't disagree with you. It's okay. It's an okay fighting game. It's not the greatest. Probably no new 4K skins till the fall. Honestly, I think if they're smart, they would just come out with the list and say, here is the list for the entire year of what skins we're going to do. And just like they did with their schedule release of, their Zen and At Games Magic Pixel tables for the rest of the year. Just put out the skin list and say, these are the ones that are coming. These are the months they're coming in, because then at least people will know, because you've got a lot of people who have been holding off making a purchase decision, hoping that their skin comes in. So just put it out there. These are the skins we're going to do. And this is when we're going to do them, or about when we're going to do them. You could say Q1 to Q2, 3, 4, whatever. And just get rid of the mystery. And then the people that are holding out for a particular skin might go, look, the one I want's not coming. I'm going to go ahead and jump on X, Y, or Z instead. Because as long as they keep slow playing it and say, oh, look, now we're doing this one. then somebody goes, well, that's not the one I want. It's still not the one I want. And they keep hanging around with hope, and eventually it'll come out. Well, now we're already a year past this product basically coming out. Now you're going to be further and further and further away. Like, people are just going to get to that point where I've lived without it for this long. I can live without it even longer. I just think it's silly to drag out the skin thing. Just silly. Just put them out there, put a list out, and be done with it. Skid says, I'm debating buying Attack from Mars. Yeah, the Attack from Mars 4KP is beautiful. To me, that's the best one they've done, simply because it's about as perfect recreation of the actual Attack from Mars cabinet as you can get. Would have been really cool if they did a Monster Bash one as well. Unfortunately, the Addams family, as you guys know, used the wrong art. They used the Zen table art instead of the actual original table. So it looks good, but it's not the right art. And I'd rather have the right art, and though I'm not an Addams Family fan anyway. Sony 4K says, I have the Ridge Racer Buy Stuff PC mod with over 100 light gun games. That's a full of Technoparrot PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2 games. I'm using the Reaper. Oh yeah, the Reapers look so good, and it plays awesome. Yeah, that's super cool. Yep, King of Fighters. I mean, you got a ton of fighters out there on obviously SNK. Tons of good ones. Samurai Showdown. Says, you have a tank stick, James. So I have what is now known as the Tank Stick VR. Of course, X Arcade provided me one, like pretty much everybody else on the planet, for purposes of review. And so the Arcade2 TV XR is sitting here right over my shoulder, and it's phenomenal. Works really well, super high quality. And honestly, I've been inspired a little bit by Paul Mindeman and his the way he built his Time Crisis, where he basically did a TV on the wall with a gun pedestal, but he made it look like it was an arcade built into the wall. And so I've been thinking really hard about doing a horizontal screen and a vertical screen where the tank stick can be moved just right under each one, and it actually look and be designed to look like an arcade a little more without having built out all that stuff. I mean, I could do a swivel stand. I know a few companies make the stand that can take your TV vertical or horizontal, but I want to put a really nice big screen there, really high quality, so that whether I'm playing horizontal or vertical, it's super easy to do and just giant, so it looks awesome, because that's the immersion. Though, of course, nothing beats the VR stuff. Like, Arcade Time Capsule is absolutely insane. So if you haven't seen that, check that out, because the tank sticks, the Tank Stick VR, these things that will work with your MetaQuest or with your PC VR and stuff, absolutely insane to be able to stand in front of what looks like and sounds like a real arcade and plays like a real arcade, and you can actually feel and use the real controls is insane. So when people talk about the future, honestly, it ain't deluxe cabs, it ain't XL cabs. It's going to be these VR experiences, because if you haven't seen, like, go check out Brooklyn Menace's channel. He's got a really good demo of Arcade Time Capsule 3.0. Just walks around, shows you what games are in there. That's the future. As soon as you can do that, and you can all join together, so you and a bunch of your friends or a bunch of people from the community can go in and just hang out and play games together, talk. They have music going, movies going, and you're in what looks like a real arcade that looks like Galloping Ghost on crack because you can move around in it. You're not all cramped. All the games actually work. When that becomes reality, that is the future of arcade gaming. You know, I guess there's still something to be said about walking up and being able to play a game, but man, that experience in VR is like no other. And to have those near perfect recreations that you can play for the price of a VR helmet, as opposed to hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars for these cabs, absolutely insane. And with Zen now like fully jumping into VR virtual pinball, man, like it's gonna be hard to beat that, in my opinion, because you start mixing all that stuff together with the real controls that you can feel and build in the community aspect where we're all hanging out together in an arcade and talking and shooting the shit and jawboning. And when you talk about putting that quarter on the screen, you actually can go up and put the quarter on the screen. That shit'll be crazy, and that'll be a ton of fun. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And we're almost there. You already have the Arcade Ranger that can do multiplayer. As soon as they get something like Time Capsule to where you can go in and do multiplayer face-to-face, essentially, without leaving your home, that is going to be a game changer. Sergeant, nice to see you again. And Tony C loves his Attack from Mars 4K. Yeah, the back glass with the privacy film. So a lot of people are putting the privacy film on their play field, right? Which I think is pretty interesting. Yep, Shredder's Revenge was a blast. I we were talking about the physical copy of Shredder's Revenge, and I was playing on a digital copy, which is what I got to play. But I also have the physical version that they originally released. I have the 1-year anniversary physical edition, which basically was the first DLC combined with the original game. And then I have on pre-order through Limited Run the deluxe, which has the game plus the 2 DLCs they did on it. But that is the collector's edition. And the reason I bought that is it comes with 4 Playmates, basically 90s era Ninja Turtles action figures inside, full-size normal action figures like we had in the 90s, but they're colored to look like the Shredder's Revenge, cell-shaded look. But it's those original Playmates Turtles figures, so super cool, and I had to have it just for those. So I'm excited for whenever that shows up. Of course, I ordered it through Limited Run, so as we talked about before, I should get that sometime in 2050. They drastically overestimated their sales expectations. And I assume you're talking about the 4KP, and that they did. Large price, very large purchase price, which makes it a challenge to sell already. And then they shoot themselves in the foot by telling people there's going to be a bunch of different skins. And so people that may want to spend the money are holding out for their favorite skin. Again, very bad marketing decision. So learn from those mistakes, right? I hope other companies don't make similar ones, right? We've heard that there's possibilities that you could see multiple skins from some of these new competitors into the home arcade space. Just learn from AtGame's mistakes. Don't keep people hanging on for their dream skin. MG says, "Oh, so you paid $100. You didn't get $100 off. Why didn't you just say that?" I did say that, MG. Thor KC says, "I'm very happy with our Jurassic Park, but you're right, Attack from Mars would be the best one to get for a purist." Yeah, I mean, the under the hood, right? They're all the same machine. They all play the same games, but from a replica look, the Attack from Mars is the one that is, more replica. Devastator Omega says, "I built a custom arcade cab for my Tank Stick Max. Plays all modern consoles and PCs. Can't believe I waited so long to do it, but it's worth it." Yeah, that is what's so great about that tank stick, especially the VR version, is it works basically on every console from Dreamcast up. So you can play everything. And then in addition, that also gives you the VR capabilities as well, which I think is so cool. And there's Brooklyn showing up. VR extraordinaire. So definitely go check out that time capsule video Jason dropped in the chat. Getting caught up here. And if you're not playing VR, like we're all convinced now, the multiplayer aspects of VR has changed VR for me. I've talked about, I had VR a while back. I had a PlayStation VR. I have the Reverb G2. So I did PlayStation VR. Like I said, I did PC VR, and they were fun. There were some good games in there. But it was really like being convinced to get into the MetaQuest and experiencing these multiplayer VR experiences that to me changed everything. That is where VR is at. Being able to hang out with people and actually play games together is just a different level of online play. It's even better than couch co-op, right? You can have experiences in these things you can't have any other way. And I think a lot of us owe that to Brooklyn for showing everybody. I know lots of people in this community have been playing walkabout golf for years in there, and Brooklyn really pushed it hard on VR and showed everybody what it could be. And man, it's so awesome. So definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. If you can find one cheap, definitely get one. Come hang out. We're playing all the time. It's like hanging out in the Discord chat that we talk about, but you get to play games at the same time as you talk with people. It's so cool. I have an arcade, but no crack. James, are you my dealer? Unfortunately, I'm fresh out of crack. Does that T2 have a for sale tag on it? It does not. I think that's the light reflecting off of, studio lights I have on. At Dudes Arcade, cheers to a better 2025. Well, we know at least we've got something in 2025 to look forward to from one person. One company's made a big announcement, so let's hope. And then Glenn's got his big announcement. So two really big things in home arcade. Hopefully we get a few more. But hey, we've been going just over an hour. The X-Men did not get fixed, so got to go back to Arcade1up support and get the encoder board sent next. See if that solves the problem, because this did not. And so we will see, and I'll update you guys and let you know if that fixes it. But who knows? Chris says, I never tried VR except for the eye doctor contraption recently, but I'm also not a console gamer. Yeah, so even arcades, man, it's I don't know. It's hard to say VR completely is the future, because VR has been around a long time, and a lot of people experience motion sickness. They don't necessarily can survive in a VR environment. I think there are certain games that handle it better than others. And so for some people, VR may never be a thing because they just can't handle that virtual movement environment, and it just makes them sick, give them headaches, those kinds of things. And so that limits your market for VR. The other problem is VR has been out a while, and while there are a lot of really good games, the best games are being funded by like Valve, right, with Half-Life Alyx, or you've got Meta basically funding all these games to keep MetaQuest going. The real independent developers aren't yet finding financial success in VR. So you got some really die-hard third-party indie developers that love VR and are putting money towards VR in hopes that they'll find the sweet spot. But I think until you get a super killer, game, you need like this giant game that has got mass appeal to really make VR take off more than it is. because it's one of those things like people have to experience to understand. You can't really do it on YouTube or these other experiences. And I don't know what that would be, man. Maybe if they did Grand Theft Auto 6 as a VR game, that would be big enough. But you're going to need something huge with mass appeal, like a Tetris type game when the Game Boy came out, or, Wii Sports, when the Wii came out. Something that really just catches fire, that convinces people they have to have one. Or they're part of the out group, right? So you get that social contagion aspect. That's when you'll get some of these major giant studios to start chasing VR. Because even Sony, right? They're not really putting much towards VR. Astrobot started as a VR thing, right? It was a VR experience on PlayStation 4's VR. And yet when they went to the PSVR 2 and they got the new game, they didn't make it a VR game. So, like, why can't you play the new Astrobot as a VR mode, just like you did in PSVR, or the original PSVR? So not even Sony's making the investments. And when they're not making the investments, then you got to start wondering, what's the longevity? But diehards are still building new stuff for it. Lots of fun games, lots of fun things out there. New ones coming out all the time. So it's not doom and gloom. It's just very slow growth, as opposed to like that rocket ship, right? What would Nintendo have been without Super Mario Brothers? Would it have been as huge as it was without that killer game? Gonna have to wait and see what happens with VR. But that's all I got. Thanks for dropping by. Wish me luck on the X-Men repair here. Don't forget to check out the sister channel, JHE Plays. Right now, the video out there is a VR game. It is NFL Pro Era 2025, where we enact the new Super Bowl, Eagles versus Chiefs. And just like you'd expect, the refs rigged the game. So you definitely check that out. And it was a ton of fun. That is a great VR game if you're a football fan. If you've ever laced up the cleats and missed playing, it's pretty fun. It's pretty good. Like, I enjoyed it a ton. And I hope that gets better. I hope it gets to a point where you can play every position. Essentially, right now, you on offense, you're the quarterback. On defense, you're a linebacker. It would be great to be able to get it to where you can play any position. Of course, multiplayer would be even better. And it may have it. I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention. I was just playing single player stuff. But man, such a fun game. Definitely check it out. Yeah, really cool. So if you're interested in the video, know ahead of time. It was the first VR recording I did like that, because I set up a green screen to record me playing while playing the game. There's some audio issues. I trusted the mic in the Meta Quest 3. Unfortunately, the sound of the game is so loud, it drowns out the mic. So I think in futures, I'll use a separate hot mic for, the commentary, or I'll crank that sound down in-game way down, which I don't really want to do, because then it makes it harder to actually play. But definitely check it out. It's a ton of fun. I know it's long, so don't feel like you have to watch the whole thing. But definitely the end is exciting. Comes down to final drive to tie the game. And like I said, pay attention to those refs, because they're always up to no good when it comes to one team. So that's all I got. Again, guys, thanks for joining. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. For all you wrestling fans, I hope you enjoyed the Royal Rumble. And until next time,